Welcome to Humans of Reliability. Today we will have an exciting conversation with Kaspar von Grünberg, a thought leader in the platform engineering space and CEO of Humanitec. In this episode, we tackle a bold question. Is the role of SRE becoming obsolete? While Kaspar believes that SREs are absolutely crucial, they will, along with DevOps security, infrastructure and operation, become a part of platform engineering within the next 5 years. In this episode, we'll also explore how platform engineering is shaping the future of software reliability, what golden paths mean for self-serving development, and why platform engineering teams are starting to look more like digital factories. Kaspar also shares his take on how AI and LLMs are changing the game and why deterministic systems are still king when it comes to reliability. Let's jump right in. Kaspar, can you tell me how the role of SREs has evolved over the year and what you think is driving their integration into platform engineering teams?
The truth is that the role of the SRE has not really evolved over the last years. And that is one of the reasons why I think that it's become a little obsolete. Like the SRE role itself has, don't get me wrong, it won't go away, right? It will transform, I think is the better way of framing it. E-role has ultimately originated from this Google definition of the best engineers that are on call if the terrible things happen and that have everything under control, understand the different production systems. I think at Google you had this rotation system where you even got a badge when you were responsible for production workloads, and everybody wanted to become an SRE. I think this is pretty much where the definition of the role stopped, right? There was not really like a lot of people, then the normal thing always happens. A couple teams recoin themselves. They were ops teams before, became an SRE team later. Everybody wanted to be like Google, and you have this little bit of a trend. But it's not really been a role that had a clear function and a long-term idea how it would define itself, including responsibility metrics. It always occurred to me a little, vague, to be honest. Although it is a role that is very important in the way that you have somebody who's actually taking care of running things and taking the responsibility and relieving the burden to a certain extent and degree from the developers so they can really focus on delivering code. Now, as we're going into this era of platform engineering, I think I like to compare it with the age of, automotive development, 1800 something to 1906, where you had, one man against the machine building the entire car from A to Z, and it really everything was shifted left, so to speak, if we would look at this from an IT perspective. And then in 1907, you have the first time that Henry Ford brings this, production line to life, and all the job roles that have served those little artisanal workshops before are now fitting into that production line, into that modern factory, and so to speak, evolve to meet the requirements of this industrial age. And I think from the perspective of the IT industry, of application development, we are at this age. In the next year, the expectation will be that we're churning out features and applications and technologies at an unparalleled speed. And that is only possible if we rely on heavy abstraction, on heavy automation, and on what I would refer to as digital factories, which is, the name we give it at the moment, internal developer platforms. The people building those platforms are platform engineers. Those are essentially the people that build the digital factories. And you need the ones that are responsible for reliability, that think about how to run things in production, that think about how to fine-tune production infrastructure, how to, introduce and maintain and deal with incident management tools. And for now, we have pushed this platform engineering idea and vision. We've always talked about the platform engineer. But I think if we're honest, there are more roles in the platform engineering team. And one of those roles is the reliability platform engineer. And I think we'll see a lot more of those coming up in the next years. And then I think that means that the SRE, who's responsible to cleaning up the mess of the many artisanal teams, shift will also roll up to the platform engineering group.
I like the former industrial era and car assembly line. DevOps was heavily inspired from this type of processes. And I think as an industry, as the tech industry is evolving, we are coming with, it's not that these principles are wrong, they are just not the best suited for what we are doing. As you say, like it's like real world versus digital world. And I feel, we are coming up with new paradigm and concept. And so platform engineering, looks like the latest and most sharp one. You spoke about SRE being part of this paradigm and how they could be integrated and with the role of reliability. So what are the challenges in integrating these SRE practices into platform engineering?
Well, I think first, as with any of these new movements, and it remains to be seen whether platform engineering can actually, live up to its expectations, right? As with all of these new movements, there's a lot of undefined stuff still. So I think, why do I believe that DevOps has failed? Well, because I believe it's a great philosophy, right? But it's never really taught people how to practically do things. And I think this is where platform engineering is much stronger, because it has that core idea of treating your platform as a product, of really going out and programmatically thinking about how to build something. We can describe this something. We can give you reference architectures. We're teaching, and we are with platform engineering as an organization, the largest certifier and course offerer for platform engineers out there. And we are training very, very clear concepts on how to take your current setup and turn it into a platform. It's way more precise. It's way less vague than the previous movement, starting with a minimum viable platform, thinking about production readiness, thinking about adoption, thinking about product management in the realm of platform engineering. But with all of that, there are still, a lot of definitions out there. There are a lot of people that are interpreting this in different ways. I think some of these ways don't make that much sense. And many people, for instance, are seeing platform engineering as just, taking something like Backstage, putting it on top of your Jenkins pipelines, and then visualizing stuff. And, if that's your definition of a platform, then you will obviously run into problems. And so I think the success or the lack of success of this movement and the integration of SRE will be around, are we able to share best practices of performant platform teams with the rest of the world? The best platform teams that I have an eye on, they have no other teams but the platform team. They have 800 developers, but a 40-person platform team, including reliability, infrastructure, DevX, security, platform product management, head of platform engineering. And those 40 people are dealing with a platform that's automating everything for the 800 developers. And so I think the big question is, are we able as a movement to come up with a clear playbook on how to do platform engineering properly? And second, are we able to train and teach reliability teams on how to fit into this platform, how to make sure that from an observability perspective, for instance, our platform is making sure there are sidecar containers everywhere, that we have good log tracing, that we have, incident management tools integrated into all different layers of the platform by default, that we're enforcing this as a standard. All of these different things have to come together.
Yeah, what's interesting is that you envision platform engineering as a holistic way of working, and you use the word product, so it's more than just operation. And actually, recently you shared a quite popular take on LinkedIn saying that you believe platform engineering is gonna eat a lot of the infrastructure related type of craft, including security, which I feel is something that's oftentimes not at all mentioned in platform engineering, but I think it does make sense. And of course, then you want SRE type of team into this. So platform engineering is often like one of the key concepts is often about helping developer to self-service. How do team like balance, this empowerment of people doing like to self-service and also, the need for reliability?
Yeah. So I think the key word here are golden paths. You want to make it very easy for the individual user to serve something. And if they're staying on that path, there are certain guarantees and defaults that are coming as part of this path. And some of the guarantees could be incident management is already integrated. Observability is integrated by default by making sure, we have the right sidecars, by making sure we're collecting the right stuff, by making really sure we have this ingrained. And so that by design, if you walk the path, all of these things come in parentheses for free. And if you want to achieve this, you need to make it beautifully simple for the engineers to consume this. Beautifully simple means it needs to be included in the workflow that they are using right now. Like, I am a big believer that the platform interfaces should be designed in a way that they're meeting the users where the user is. And the user, if the user is your developer, is usually in Visual Studio Code, in Cursor, in a CDE, in the pipeline, in a CLI, in an LLM chatbot in Teams or Slack, right? And so you need to meet them where they are, and you need to be able to give them something with a wonderful interaction. It has to be very delightful. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want to scaffold a new Node.js service, right? If there's no path, you would first, figure out, let's say there's 0, you would first figure out like what's a good default framework for Node.js. And then you would take this and you would, run something, and you would try to figure out how to essentially, I don't know, you want to deploy it to Kubernetes, then you figure out how Helm charts work, and then you need a DNS and an S3 bucket, and then you somehow learn to use Terraform, and then you do this for both, and then you test this and you repeat this for dev, staging, and production. And you're already hearing, right? This will take you weeks. It's like a terrible experience. It's maybe interesting and maybe okay for the CV of the developer, but it leads to a setup that has 100 different ways of, essentially leading to the exact same outcome. And very often then, incident management is an afterthought. So the right tools will not be integrated. Observability is something we'll have to do and retrofit as the thing is already running in production. That's not a golden path, right? That's just, terrible. A good golden path comes along with an abstraction, right? The developer just expresses what they need. They say, I want a Node.js service. I need this to come with an S3 bucket and a DNS, and I want to have this running in dev, staging, and production. That should be enough as a prompt, right? And it could literally be a prompt in an AI chat. It could be a CLI command. It could be like a YAML format. However you do it, it doesn't really matter. And then that abstract request should make its way to some sort of backend. It should figure out, okay, what are the golden path defaults for that this organization wants? Okay, they want this Terraform for this S3 bucket. They want the DNS to be done this way. They want all of this. We're going to use GitHub Actions for CI. We're going to create manifests for EKS. We're going to include sidecar containers. We're going to make sure Rootly is configured. We're going to make sure all of these things are there. And then we're shipping. The developer gets the repository. The developer gets the URL. They can start testing right away, and they're ready within seconds, right? That's a great golden path. This is so great and so neat and so, fluid that people want to use it. It's 10x better than what they're used to. And this is the amount of quality and integration that you need to provide in order to really hook people with your platform.
Mm-hmm. These golden paths are also becoming more and more sophisticated and complicated. As you said, like monitoring, logging, incident management are often afterthoughts I'm thinking of in terms of latest trend, data compliance regulations such as GDPR are bringing another level of complication. And now we are entering this age of LLMs and agents where, my take is that we will need to make our API and our system LLM friendly, right? Agent first. And so for everything you build, you need to, on top of everything you just mentioned, also add these two elements. So this golden path will provide reliability, but also ensure that what you build is able to interact with the rest of the ecosystem.
I think you're making an incredibly important point there, right? This agent first and agent ready infrastructure, especially from the API perspective, so that they can, that machines can communicate and consume and authenticate. It is something great that you mentioned. This is something that not enough people are, thinking about. How are you dealing with all of those LLM related craziness, frankly, right? Because you need to manage the on the left hand, the semantic world with a deterministic world that is very, API, this is how it is, very accurate. And, how do you design that interface? Like there's a lot of things that we don't know. And this is making it even more important to centralize, even more important to have those golden paths. Because if you have golden paths, it also means that you can centrally update stuff, right? What if you need to upgrade your agent? What if you need to, change labels and annotations across 500 different microservices? Well, in the old world, you go into every single microservice and you change this, or you call the team and say, like, please, the CTO wants this, and you beg and pray, and it takes months. In the platform world, you change the default, and all of the ones that have, selected auto upgrade from a central team can update immediately. And this makes it so much more performant.
And we are seeing the rise of SRE agent. And so do you see, let's maybe surf a little bit on this LLM topic. Would you see platform engineering agents as something emerging where you can, as you said, just prompt and say, hey, this is what I'm building, I want to ship it. Can you bring this golden path for me? How do you envision that?
Yeah, this will come. This will come 100%. This is something that I'm super interested in. We have the deterministic backend APIs to pull this off, and it is something that we are heavily investing in. So this will come 100%. I don't see any of the current approaches on the market being able to solve for that mandatory boundary condition that the outcome has to be deterministic, right? Like I just said that.
Right.
They're making it feel as if it's okay if things sort of work. But in our world, that's just, especially from a reliability perspective, just not possible, right? We need to rely on the output. It's like a self-driving car problem. So going all the way with LLMs, that is not going to be possible because LLMs are not the right technology. LLMs are a decent technology to select the next best step. I am deeply in love with Cursor, for instance, with this idea of proposing the next 5 lines of code, this step optimization with human in the loop. I think there is a lot of interesting stuff in that. These approaches and ideas that say, we can have an agent that is LLM based, go off and do access management and all of this. All of that is, in my opinion, honestly bullshit. The second bit here, auto-generating infrastructure as code files, Terraform, etc., terribly appealing, right? But the time it takes to make sure there's no mistake in this, the inaccuracy, honestly, of policy management systems at this point make it hard for me to believe how we can do this without very, very present human supervision. But we will see a lot there already in the next weeks. And that's something that I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I think LLM could be like a bridge and make it maybe easier for people just to access the backend, which is deterministic, right? It could be just, hey, I'm building that, and then the LLM would find deterministic and golden path. But I agree with you that the non-deterministic and not reliable part of LLM is a no-go for our industry. Actually, the deputy CTO of DX came on the podcast a few days ago, and they have a very cool tool which measure how tools like Copilot are doing in engineering teams. And they saw that at the individual level, this can help boost productivity. They measure things like, hey, how many suggestions an engineer rejected or accepted, how much free time this gives them, and how much new features they work on. And while they see productivity gain on some individual at the engineering level, they actually don't see any improvement. So they are not sure yet why, but maybe writing code is not the bottleneck. Maybe it's like maybe the meetings or the way the organization is working, or as you said, perhaps it takes more time and energy to ensure that what's been outputted is actually correct and reliable. And so then it's is it worth it?
Well, this is the big question, right? This is and a lot of people in Silicon Valley are betting a lot of money that this is going to be true. I can see this with myself. So I'm not coding as much at the moment, unfortunately. But if I am, for instance, working on strategy things, right? It's like I am using LLMs to battle me on strategic ideas, and I have a vivid conversation with O1. Asking it to grill me to find the flaws in the way I'm reasoning about things. I find that super interesting. And then I'm working on strategy papers with LLMs. But the thing that takes a lot of time, a lot of reading, a lot of talking to people, a lot of going out for walks, that's the time of coming up what strategy to actually explore. It's not really writing the strategy itself. It's the same with my newsletter. Like I write my newsletter every 2 weeks, and I'm a fast writer. I can write the newsletter in like 30 minutes or something. But really thinking about like what is a new original thought that I can put in this newsletter and that will make a net benefit and a difference to the reader. That's the thing that takes a lot of time. And sure, like I could brainstorm with an LLM, but because it's trained on stuff that's already there, the net new thing that I want to work on, and I think as a human, like I should only work on net new stuff, it's by definition not going to be very good at. And I think there is a big constraint in the technological approach of LLMs that it's always having that bias of what already exists. And this makes it, I can see how it boosts my productivity. Will that completely change everything now? And will software development become obsolete? I find that highly, highly unlikely. And if I hear Mark Zuckerberg talking about, like all the junior developers are now ABC, I always think like, guys, like I'm also doing marketing. I'm also saying a lot of stuff, but this is really only one opinion.
Great. Love it. So at the beginning of the interview, you shared about the worst take on platform engineering. Can you share either companies that are doing this great, or like example that people can look at and take inspiration from?
Well, my favorite example at the moment is a company called Sixt. You might have encountered it if you've ever rented cars, for instance. And Bojan is the CTO of Sixt. They've done a fantastic job, extremely performant platform, fantastic interfaces, great integration with CLI chat. They have a great user interface. They've really thought about how to build the platform as a back end first, API first setup. They have everything is a platform team, and they're serving the users super well. Bojan and myself will have a fireside chat and roundtable, and I hope we can also record this at the PlatformCon Live Day in London this year. I think that is in June 25th. I hope I'm able to go there because I'm expecting my third son just 2 weeks before that. So I hope that this is all working out. I think this is a fantastic example of something that is very, very successful. And then I'm always a fan, and you would have not expected this, of the Brazilian teams. There's something in the water in Brazil that makes them fantastic platform engineers. I know a good amount of teams that have built some of the most fantastic platforms I've seen so far. Definitely, the team at Mercado Libre. I've seen a fantastic platform at Grupo Boticário. I think is the name, just two weeks ago, and they're doing a fantastic job there.
Fascinating. So maybe that's where you should organize the next platform con.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very vivid community, and great people, lots of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
So if people want to reach out to you or find you online, where can they go?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, Kaspar von Grünberg, and feel free to add me there. I'm getting back to pretty much everybody. If you want to guarantee that I'm getting back, you should write me an email, Kaspar@humanitec.com, humanitc.com, and I have a 100% reply rate on that email address. So please feel free to reach out. And I think those are probably the best options.
Sweet. Thank you, Kaspar.
Thank you so much.